The first time I realised how dangerous sleep could be was somewhere along the Highline trail in Utah, halfway through a 48-hour push I had no business attempting. I'd started out cocky, pack light, move fast, sleep little. The kind of plan that sounds noble on a map and stupid in the field. The first day went smooth enough. Miles rolled under my boots like river stones, and the smell of pine sap hung thick in the dry air. But as the second sunset bled into the horizon, something inside me began to crack. My legs kept moving because stopping felt impossible, but my thoughts, they drifted. Like trying to read through fog, I could barely tell the difference between dream and daylight. By midnight, the wind off the ridge carried whispers. I don't mean the kind you think you hear, I mean full voices. My brother's laugh. A woman humming a tune I didn't know. I stumbled forward, muttering to myself, just to anchor my mind to sound I knew was real. The stars were painfully bright, and the shadows between rocks seemed to swell and breathe. I tried to eat a handful of trail mix and found myself chewing on air. I'd already eaten it an hour ago and forgotten. That scared me more than any cougar track or sudden gust. Losing time like that felt like losing pieces of who I was. The trail followed a ledge that dropped into black nothingness, and the wind howled up from below, dry and sharp as teeth. I caught myself leaning forward just for a moment as if my body wanted to fall. I jerked back, heart hammering, and realised I'd been asleep, walking asleep. Micro-sleep, they call it. My body's cruel rebellion against exhaustion. I sank to my knees, pressing my forehead to the dirt, promising myself 5 minutes. Just 5. But the cold seeped through my jacket, and I forced myself up before my brain could betray me again. By dawn, the horizon was smeared with red, and the rocks seemed to shimmer like coals in a dying fire. I kept thinking I saw tents ahead, other hikers waving me toward coffee and warmth. Every time it was just another pile of stone. I started talking to them anyway, thanking them for the company. My voice cracked, dry as the air itself. I remember looking at my hands and not recognizing them, filthy, shaking as if they belonged to someone older, someone closer to the end of the line. By mid-morning, the sun felt like a living thing, a cruel overseer pressing its weight on my shoulders. My head throbbed behind my eyes, and my tongue felt like it had been rolled in sand. The world shimmered. Heat waves or exhaustion, I couldn't tell. Somewhere between reason and delirium, I began counting my steps in sets of 100, convincing myself each set was a mile. When I reached 10 miles, I'd allow a sip of water. Truth was, I'd maybe gone 2. Every rock looked familiar, every turn identical. I started to wonder if I was looping the same section, trapped in some cruel spiral carved into the mountainside. Then came the laughter again. This time it was close, so close I could almost feel breath on my neck. I spun around, poles raised, ready to see a hiker, a trickster, a ghost. Nothing. Just the empty sweep of shale and the dry hiss of wind through scrub pine. My pulse pounded in my ears, and I realised how thin the line was between fear and fatigue. When your mind slips like that, it doesn't care what's real. It just fills the silence with something, anything. By early afternoon, the trail pitched upward into a barren ridge. Each step sent a tremor through my knees. I started seeing movement along the edges of my vision. Figures darting behind rocks, the flash of a bright red jacket disappearing around a bend. I shouted once, desperate for proof of another person, but only the echo came back. That's when I noticed how the echo didn't match me exactly. My voice repeated wrong, as if someone else was answering with my words, slightly delayed, slightly different. The sound crawled down my spine. At the top of the ridge, I stopped to rest. My knees buckled before I meant to sit, and I ended up slumped in the dust, staring out at an ocean of stone. The mountains rolled away like waves frozen mid-crash, beautiful and endless. I blinked, and suddenly it wasn't mountains at all, but water. Deep blue, glimmering water stretching to the horizon. I saw boats. I saw my father waving from one of them, smiling that tired, half-sad smile he had when I left home years ago. I stumbled forward, crying out, certain I could reach him if I just climbed down far enough. My foot slipped. A loose rock skittered off the edge and vanished into the void. That sound, stone clattering into nothing, snapped me awake faster than any alarm. I dropped to my stomach, heart slamming, inches from a 1,000-foot fall. My vision pulsed, and I realised I'd been walking toward that illusion of water, ready to step right off the ridge into empty air. I lay there for a long time, face pressed to the cold rock, whispering to myself, "Stay awake, stay awake." The third night came down like a slow suffocation. I'd meant to stop before dark to find a flat spot, maybe let myself sleep for 20 minutes, but when I tried, my legs wouldn't obey. They just kept moving, one jerky step after another, as if the motion itself was the only thing keeping me tethered to consciousness. My body had become a hollow machine, bone, sinew, and muscle driven by something less like will and more like survival instinct. The trail wound through a burned-out section of forest, blackened trunks standing like the ribs of some enormous carcass. The moon hung low and yellow through the haze, and the air smelled faintly of ash and dust. Every few minutes I'd drift, not fully asleep, but not awake either. I'd blink and find I'd lost 10 or 15 steps, my poles dragging uselessly behind me. Once I opened my eyes to see someone walking beside me. A woman in a grey jacket, no face, just a pale blur where her features should have been. I didn't flinch, I just kept pace with her. Somehow, it was comforting. She never spoke, never looked my way, and when I tripped on a root and caught myself, she vanished like mist. My breathing grew ragged after that. I could feel panic clawing at the edges of my thoughts, but there wasn't enough energy left to feed it. Sometime past midnight, I found a clearing. The stars above were sharp as glass, and the silence pressed against my ears until it hurt. I remember thinking I'd lie down just for a second, just long enough to blink the grit from my eyes. I dropped my pack, used it as a pillow, and stared at the sky. It spun slowly, like I was on a ship. I could feel myself slipping into sleep, into something deeper. But then came a noise, faint, rhythmic. Footsteps. I sat up, disoriented. No one should have been out there. The nearest trailhead was days away. The sound grew louder, closer. I called out, voice rasping, "Who's there?" Nothing. Then the footsteps began circling the clearing, just beyond the reach of moonlight. My stomach turned to ice. I fumbled for my headlamp, but the beam flickered and died. That's when I realised the footsteps were mine, my own boots echoing seconds late. The ground beneath me seemed to tilt, my balance gone. I pressed my palms into the dirt, whispering to myself over and over, "You're alone, you're alone, stay awake." When I finally moved again, I left the clearing behind like it was cursed. My eyes burned from dryness, my mind unravelling thread by thread. Every sound became an accusation. The wind through branches, the creak of my pack straps, the crunch of gravel. I knew if I stopped again, I wouldn't wake. Somewhere deep inside, that truth kept my feet shuffling forward, through shadow, through delirium, toward a horizon I no longer believed in. I don't remember the moment the trail disappeared, only that the world went grey and quiet, and suddenly I was walking through a place that felt wrong. The air hung heavy and metallic, like the sky before lightning. My thoughts had become fragments. Hunger, thirst, forward. Sometimes I spoke them aloud, just to prove I still could. Forward, I croaked over and over, the words scraping my throat raw. I hadn't eaten since the day before, hadn't slept in what felt like years. My body had stopped asking for either, it just moved. The path had narrowed into a slanted shelf of loose shale hugging the side of a mountain. Below me, the drop plunged into mist, white and endless. I tried to focus on the rhythm of my steps, the clack of my trekking poles, anything solid and real. But my mind had begun building other landscapes. Green meadows, lakes glittering with morning light, the smell of coffee and wood smoke. I could see them. I could smell them. At one point, I even dropped my pack, certain I'd reached camp, and started to unlace my boots. That's when the wind hit me, a sudden gust that ripped through the hallucination like tearing canvas. The meadow vanished, replaced by the yawning cliff edge inches from my toes. Panic jolted through me like electricity. I stumbled backward, breathing in sharp bursts. My hands shook uncontrollably. Somewhere deep down, I understood how close I'd come. that a single half-second of dream had nearly killed me. I crouched low, gripping the earth, forcing my eyes open wide. "Don't blink," I told myself. "Don't blink." But my body betrayed me again. My eyes fluttered, my vision stuttered, and for a split instant I was elsewhere. A kitchen. My mother humming at the sink. A child, me, running past her with a wooden toy. I could smell bread baking. Warm light filled the room. Then darkness, a slip, gravel shifting, the sensation of falling. I slammed onto my side, legs dangling over the edge. For a long second I didn't move. My mind refused to register it. Then the pain hit, white hot. And I clawed backward with every shred of strength left in me until my boots found solid ground. My heart thundered so violently I thought it might burst. The illusion of home shattered completely. I was back in the cold mountain air, sobbing, half from terror, half from sheer exhaustion. When the trembling stopped, I crawled to a flat patch of dirt and collapsed. I didn't dare close my eyes. The stars swirled above me, a million indifferent eyes watching me unravel. I whispered to them, maybe praying, maybe pleading, "Just let me make it to morning." When dawn finally came, it didn't arrive as a sunrise so much as a slow bleeding of colour back into the world. Pale blue seeped through the darkness, tracing the ragged edges of the cliffs and the charred trees around me. My eyes felt swollen, my mind hollowed out. I didn't move for a long time. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, slow and heavy, and I remember thinking it sounded like footsteps, steady, reliable, alive. That realization alone made me cry, quiet tears that cut clean streaks through the dirt on my face. I'd made it through the night, but it hadn't been a victory. It felt more like a narrow escape from some invisible abyss that had been trying to pull me in since the second sunset. I forced myself upright. Every joint protested. My legs were stiff. My back screamed, but I managed to stand. The trail stretched ahead in a faint, wavering line of light, dust glowing under the morning sun. I remember whispering, "You just have to keep it between the boots," and took one shaky step forward, then another. I counted each one out loud, the sound thin and hoarse but grounding. Around the 50th step, the first bird called out, a single high chirp that split the silence. It felt like the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. By mid-morning, I stumbled upon a small stream cutting through a patch of meadow. The water glittered, impossibly clear. I dropped to my knees, cupped my hands, and drank until my arms trembled. Cold water never tasted like that before. Sharp, electric, real. When I looked up, I saw the faint outline of smoke far in the distance curling upward in a thin grey thread. A trailhead, a fire from someone else's camp. Civilization. I laughed, though it came out more like a rasp. For the first time in 2 days, I knew I wasn't alone in the world. It took hours to reach that smoke. Every few minutes, my vision blurred and my steps faltered. But I held myself upright with the memory of that near fall, the feel of the cliff beneath my fingers. When I finally emerged onto a dirt road, I just sat down and let the weight of it all wash over me. The fear, the beauty, the silence, the survival. That night, back in a real bed, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the wind, kept seeing that endless drop below me, but mixed with the fear was something else. Respect. A hard-earned humility for the line between waking and dreaming, between control and collapse. Out there, I'd learned that endurance isn't just about strength. It's about staying awake when every cell in your body begs you not to. It's about knowing the mountain doesn't care if you survive, and finding meaning in surviving anyway. That's the part that's never left me, the memory of walking through the edge of sleep and coming back alive.